I'm going to a pick your own today. I like to go and pick up a bulk amount of strawberries because the number of strawberry plants I have in my small back garden simply wouldn't produce enough. I thought I'll take you along with me today. Let's go and pick some strawberries. I'm looking to pick about 8 kilos of strawberries today, and then when I get back later, maybe I can show you how I make what I call my strawberry jam jelly compote pie filling. I was really hoping to pick about 8 or 9 punnets of these strawberries, and it didn't take me very long at all. The strawberries also were incredibly ripe and juicy and very, very sweet. I thought it was interesting that the cost to buy these strawberries was £7.40 a kilo compared to £11.80 a kilo in the local supermarket. So that meant I paid £42.11 in total rather than £66.20, which is what the equivalent would have cost from the local shop. So we're back at home now, and I'm washing and checking over the fruit. I'm taking off the tops and cutting the berries in half. I won't throw these tops away though. I'm going to make some strawberry vinegar with those. Grab a jar, put the tops, water and sugar in it, give it a good stir, and as long as you keep the tops submerged and fit a fermentation lid, you get off to a great start making your own homemade strawberry vinegar. And we'll take another look at this later in this vlog and also in future ones, because you've got to make it in 2 stages. But if you can't wait, I've put the recipe for you at my website, smallgardenbigplot.com. So I've too many strawberries here to be able to process all the jam at once. So I'm portioning the strawberries out into grab bags to save on time later. I'm going to put a lot in the freezer and we'll get round to them when I've got more time. The strawberries are prepped really simply. They're just bagged up. But for the ones that I'm converting into jam today, I need to measure those out and then add some homemade vanilla bourbon, some orange juice, seal the bags, put them in the fridge overnight to marinate. I marinate the strawberries because it draws out and intensifies the flavour of the jam. Then I go back to all the other strawberries. I'm going to bag up all the other strawberries, label them roughly by cup and get them frozen up as soon as I possibly can. You can see it's either as approximately 900 grams or 450 grams, and that's either 6 cups or 3 cups. It's the next day now, and I'm filling the steam cooler with water, and we're sterilising the very clean preserving jars before I begin. And the marinated strawberry mix that's ready, well, that goes into the saucepan exactly as it is, and then I add lemon juice and 3 spoons of calcium water. I'm using Pomona's pectin, which means that you don't need sugar to get the set. The calcium water creates the set and the sugar is for taste. I'm going to be bringing this mixture up to a really good simmer, and whilst it's coming to heat, I'm also going to grab a separate bowl and pour in the sugar I'm going to be using in the recipe today and 3 teaspoons of the pectin powder. I've got a jam funnel, I've got a bowl of lids. I'm going to have a small bowl of white vinegar and a cloth, and I'll pour some really hot water over the lids, and then that will sterilise them, get them warm and clean and ready to go. You can see just how hot these glass jars are, the steam's coming off them, so I use my handy dandy jar lifters in order to save the ends of my fingers from getting burnt. Although the strawberries have reached a really good boil, I actually use a masher to help break the strawberry berries up a little bit more, and then I get that sugar pectin mixture, and stirring continuously for about a minute I add all of the sugar mix into it. And when it starts to feel like the mixture is getting a bit thicker, that's when it's time to fill the jars. I'm going to fill the jars to about 1 centimetre or so from the top of the rim. I'm not going to fill the jars right to the top. I fill it to about 1 centimetre or so because strawberries can still expand a bit as they are sealing in the steam canner. So I'm always careful I leave a little bit of extra space, or I'm going to risk siphoning where some of the hot jam liquid starts to seep out, and I really don't want that because it can prevent you from getting a seal. If one jar has too much of the mixture in it, once you've finished filling the jars, you can always spoon a little bit of it into the contents of another jar just to even them out a little bit. And I also use a pokem stabum, as I think it's called, to give the jars a little bit of a good stir. It's so that you can release any air bubbles that might have got trapped in the fruit. And then I wipe the rims with the cloth that's been dipped in that white vinegar. And once that's done, I know I've removed any stickiness or bits of fruit so that I should get a really good seal. Now you might notice that there's a tiny little jar. Well, that's a taster to see what it is that we've made, and it's also what I call a cook's perk. Now that the rims are all nice and clean, the lids are going to go on, and then I will screw on the canning rings. We screw them gently but firmly. It's called fingertip tight. And then the jars are moved to the steam canner on the hob, and the lid goes back on. Now this is more of an American way of preserving a jam. I know in the UK we tend to use lots of sugar or vinegar when we preserve things, but I prefer to use less sugar in my jam recipes, and so it makes a lot of sense to use a completely different method if one's available, and have the jars seal just as beautifully and be preserved just as simply. I know that using this method, they'll probably, even with a small amount of sugar, last between maybe 1 or 2 years. I think because it's fruit, it's better to use it within the year, because after that all the flavour and the colour and perhaps the actual benefits, the nutritional benefits, starts to go. As you can see though, I got a lovely set on this batch, and we're going to leave the jars in the steam canner, and we're going to steam can them for about 10 minutes, and then after another 5 minutes after that we gently raise the lid of the steam canner. That comes off, and then I'll move these jars over to my work surface, and they're going to be left to sit undisturbed on a counter for about 24 hours. When the 24 hours is up, I gently unscrew the canning rings and I check the seals, and then I give the jars a little bit of a clean up. I don't want any stickiness left on the glass jars before I put them away. What I also do is I print out labels. I like to make sure that I label up all of the things that I make really carefully. We've got lots of different people with lots of different dietary requirements in the family, and the more information I can put on a label, the better, because it means if I share or if I gift, that I know that there won't be any issues with any of the ingredients. Now, you can handwrite labels, but I like the look of the labels with all this information on them. I put the ingredients on the label too. And if you'd like me to share my ingredient code, as I call it, let me know in the comments section. Some of my jams are vegan, some are not. And I got both batches finished and then made a label for each of the different kinds and made a note of the jars in my 2026 notebook. We ended up eating 1 jar of the strawberry jam homemade with some scones that I'd baked up that day, and then there was another with the sugar, the vegan version. The other was given away as a gift straight away. And just before we go, let's take a look at how the strawberry vinegar is coming along. You can already see that it's starting to ferment. There's bubbles appearing. You can also see that the colour is starting to bleed out of the strawberry tops themselves and into the vinegar base. This is step 1 of the process. So first we're going to ferment the strawberry tops, and then in my next vlog I will show you how we start the vinegaring process. So I hope you'll subscribe to my channel if you found our time together useful today. I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching.